Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm okay.
Good, me too. I'm excited to be here. So we've got heavy weights and a disc and the small bands. That's what we're
Okay,
using today.
perfect.
And then water and a towel. And that's it. It's as easy as that. So here we go. We're gonna start with a warm-up. So you're gonna come all the way to the back of the mat. Take your feet nice and wide. And then just shift your hips from side to side. Now, while you've got your hands on your hips, I want you to squeeze the elbows together so you have a really proud chest. And you wake up those back muscles at the same time. Now let's circle the hips backwards and then go the other way. Just to kind of warm up your inner thighs a little bit. Okay, now let's just take a nice big deep breath. You're going to reach all the way up and then lift up through your shoulders. So you're really trying to grow the spine. And then we're going to take it halfway down. You're going to bring your arms by your side. Palms are going to face the floor. So your back stays nice and long. Your neck stays long. Your legs are nice and straight and you're pulling the belly in. And now let's sweep it all the way back up again. And then really try to lift. And then exhale, come on back down. Maybe go a little further so you really feel the back of those legs get nice length. But we don't want to round the shoulders forward. So keep your spine nice and long. Retract those shoulders. And now come back up. Reach the arms one last time. And then take it back down halfway or a little deeper. Again, it's not about forcing anything during a warm-up. It's just about getting blood flow to the areas that are typically tight. Now come back up. You're going to sweep just the right arm straight up. Lift that right shoulder straight up. Let the hip go to the right and let the arm come over. So just a nice big side body stretch going right over that hip. And then do it the same way on the opposite side. So let's start with the arm. Lift the shoulder up. Let the hip go out. And then take it over. And do it again. Big reach. And again. And one more time on each side. Like, why not, right? It feels good. Last one. Okay. You're going to make a fist, thumbs up. Pull those elbows back. And then squeeze them together. And now fold halfway down. And then come back up. We're going to move through this a little bit quicker. Maybe 3 counts down, 3 up. Just to get the heart rate pumping a little bit. Get some blood flow. Couple more. Really make sure you're keeping the elbows nice and high. One more, and then we're going to release it. So you're in a full fold. Let the arms go. Let the torso just hang out. Stay here for a couple of breaths. Now we're going to inhale and extend the spine. Walk the fingers forward and try to shift your hips backwards. So you're getting into your lats. Big, 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 big deep breaths here. You'll notice when you take those big breaths, you get a better stretch, right? Okay, now relax down, roll up one vertebrae at a time. And now you're just going to turn your heels in and have your toes out. So kind of like a sumo position. Bring your hands to heart. And you be the judge of how far apart you want your feet, whatever feels best for your knees. We're going to start a descent, but as we do that, I want you to focus on pulling the hips backwards. You're going to come down nice and slow, and then back up. We're just going to ease into the depth that we get, trying to improve our range of motion each squat. And if you need to adjust your feet, that's fine. Just kind of want to find a place that feels kind of normal for your knees and your legs. Okay, now release the hands, hold them here, spread your fingers nice and wide, and see if you can get down low enough that the fingers hit the floor. And if that's not happening yet, no worries. Really think about, a lot of people when they do squats, they fold over. That's not what a squat is about. It's about lowering the booty, right? Okay, now we're just going to do 2 more, and then we're going to hold it down with our hands out in front. So you decide how low you're going. Take the arms out in front. They should be parallel to the floor. And just hold here. And now lift the arms up and down. Up and down. As high as you can. This should feel fairly challenging. Now you're going to fold over. You're going to bring your feet hip width apart. Look through your knees to the back of the room. Big deep breaths here. Shift your hips back, walk those fingers forward one last time. Breathe as much as you can. And now fold over. Walk your hands, baby steps all the way to the front. Meet me in your high plank. From here, make sure you haven't dropped your face. Let's focus a lot today on your core. So really try always to activate your 6-pack muscle and draw it up and into the spine. Whenever you can remember to think about it. Now from here, take it to a down dog. My heels don't get on the floor, but I'm sure trying. Keep your legs straight. Now elevate onto the tippy toes and drive the heels towards the floor. Keep those legs really straight. Lift up as high as you can and lower down. Lift up and lower down. This time you lift up, float back forward to your high plank position. Make sure you're not dropping your face. And we're going to put the knees down on the floor. Hips go back over the heels. You're not sitting on them. Walk your hands to the corners of the mat or close to the corners. Now, keep the forehead off the floor, but your neck long. Now, as you exhale each of these breaths, see if you can get your chest a little closer to the floor. Big stretch around your armpits. Okay, let's come back forward. And this time, just let your hips come as far forward as they can. Keep your toes tucked under so you feel stable. And now take it back. And we're just going to slowly oscillate between coming forward with the hips, looking forward, keeping the arms nice and long, and then taking it back. Try to lower that chest, and then come back again. And we're just going to do this a few more times. Go back. And forward. come onto the tops of your feet. Take your hips backwards, maybe open up the knees a little bit. We're gonna do a modified child's pose. So you still have your forehead up, your arms reaching out, but you're trying to lower the chest down. Okay, now come back up. Kick those feet out to the side and then bring them forward. We're gonna meet in staff pose. Bring the arms out in front, sit up really tall. And then lift the arms straight up. Flex your feet so you feel the shins engage. And then take it forward, keeping your spine long till you can't anymore, and then just go between the legs. And then take a big deep breath in, lift the arms long and up, right back where you started. One more time, big breath, and then exhale, fold. So now your spine's in flexion, you're trying to walk your hands forward, maybe a little bit more. Take a big deep breath, bring the arms all the way back up again, reach for that ceiling. And now bring your hands to heart. You're just going to lean back. Draw the belly in. Hold here where you feel your hip flexors engaged and where you really have to pull that stomach in hard to hold your body in this position. And now sit it back up nice and tall. So you're rolling over those sit bones and we're just going to flex the spine. So just really round, let the shoulders pull forward, and then come back up, sitting nice and tall, leaning back without rounding your lower back. You're waking up these hip flexors, your quads a little bit. Now sit it back up. And once you're sitting up completely, that's when we round. We're so good at doing this part, right? Okay, sit it back up one more time. To make it a little bit harder, bring either the arms out in front or lift them straight up and then try leaning back, pulling in the belly. Just hold here. And now we're going to bring the elbows down by our side. You're going to pull the knees in. Feet stay flexed. Take that right leg out, pull it in, and then switch for the left. When you take it out, lower the heel just above the floor, lift it up, and then pull it in. So again, you're working these hip flexors. Keep the belly drawing down. Try not to weigh too much into the elbows. Oh my goodness, she's never going to stop talking. It's all about form, right? Keep that chest proud. You should feel this in the belly, in your hip flexors. Now, if we want to amp this up, we take both out, lift them up, pull them back in. Do it again. Just a few more. Then we're going to move on, start our weights. Okay, sit it up, dive between the legs, little reprieve. And then I'm going to have you grab onto your weights. We're going to start lying down since we're already here. So let's find them. Your heavy weights, we're doing arms, chest, flies, the whole kit and caboodle. So start out with your palms facing. Your weights touching. Your lower back on the floor. Your legs are bent. So you're bracing your spine. Open up nice and slow. And until you've done a few of these, maybe you limit the range of motion a little bit, just to kind of ease into these flies. Slow going out, lots of control. Big squeeze of the chest coming in. And then back out. And back together. Let the weights touch, give yourself a little pause and an extra squeeze of those chest muscles. And then open back out slowly and do it again. Keep that lower back down on the floor so you're pressing everything down into the mat, the whole torso. Let's make sure we're not squeezing these weights too hard. When you open up nice and wide, try to keep your ribs down, right? It's not a good look to have them pop up. Okay, let's hold these weights together at the top. I want you to pick your legs up off the floor, your feet. Give me a 90-degree angle in the knees. Now you choose how far out your knees can be, where you still can keep your back on the floor. And let's continue with our flies this way. Even if you have to limit the range a tiny bit, that's okay, get used to it. Just try to press the whole torso down into the floor. If you need to take a break with those legs, just put your feet back down on the floor and regroup. Okay, put the feet down on the floor. Now I want you to hold your arms shoulder width apart. Your palms are still facing. We're going to do bending at the elbow, let the weights tap the shoulder, and then go back to that nice long arm. Come down. You really want to minimize the movement between the elbow and the shoulder so you can really isolate the tricep, back of the arm muscle. Going nice and slow. Really important not to use momentum. You'll feel it almost harder when you keep the movement nice and smooth. That's where we get more out of it. Nice loose grip. Exhaling to get the weights back up. And if you need to start alternating, that's okay. Just hold one arm up, do one at a time. Try to go 3 or 4 counts down and 3 or 4 counts up. Now I'm going to start and do a few more, but I'm going to alternate them. Okay, let's rock and roll to a seated position. Get rid of them. I'm going to get a quick sip of water. Hopefully you do too. I'm going to grab the black small band that I have, and we're going to do our hips. We're going to give our hands a little rest on those weights. So let's take the band, wrap it just above the ankles. Come on down. Open up the feet as wide as you can. Lower back is on the floor, ribs are low. And then bring them back together. When you bring them back together, I want you to really resist. So you're just going in and out slowly. When you go out, give yourself a little pause and say, can I get my feet a little further apart? And if the answer is no, then you start to close slowly. If it's yes, you go for it. Make each one of these great. Okay, 3 more. And then we're going to add a little hold with a little bit of movement. Okay, so on this one, get them out nice and wide. Hold it for 5 counts and then pulse it for 5 counts. When you start the pulse, you start with the out first. Now bring your knees into the chest, bend the legs, just give yourself a little hug of the knees, and then come back to that straight leg. Open back out as wide as you can. Hold for 5 counts. Now pulse it for 5, starting with the out. And then bring your knees back in. Little reprieve. We're going to do this 3 more times. Up with the legs, out with the legs, count to 5. Start your pulses. And bring them in. Little reprieve. 2 more. Come back up. Open really wide. Pulse it. And bring your knees in. And we're doing 1 more. Make this the best one. So really wide. Pulse. And release. Okay, get rid of the band. Rock and roll up. Take your red band or one that is a little bit less hard. Come on back down. We're going to take the band just over the wrists with your arms straight up to the ceiling. Walk your feet close to your butt and tilt your pelvis up so the lower back is on the floor. Now open the arms as wide as you can and just hold. Nothing fancy. The same thing we were doing with the band around our ankles, we're going to do with our arms. So now let the band come back together. So there's no tension. And then open back up. You're working the top part of your arms. And bring it together. This should be challenging. You're fighting. You're really working this band open as big as you can. Spread those fingers wide. Keep the wrists nice and neutral. Close it. You're going slow. Open it. Try to get wider than the last one. Close it. Do it again. Open. Fight for it. Close it. And let the elbows relax down on the floor. Little reprieve. Now we're going to come back up. We're going to hold 5 counts, pulse for 5, and we're going to do it 5 times. So you can do your own counting. So let's go. Arms up. Open up. Count to 5. And then when you start your pulses, you go out first. And then bring the elbows back down to the floor, let the arms release, and start again. Up with the arms, open even wider. Pulse for 5. And release. Make sure you're not creating any tension in your neck. If you are, roll your head side to side, let it release. Come back up with the arms, open nice and wide. And pulse. And release the elbows down to the floor. And one last one. Up with the arms, open. And pulse. And release. Okay, rock and roll yourself up. Get rid of the bend. You're gonna pick your weights up again. We're gonna do some chest presses, and then we're getting up onto our feet for some legs. I do have my disc here that I'm gonna use. It's certainly optional for you, whether you like using them or not. So right now I've got my arms in chest press position, my palms facing forward with my wrists neutral. Lower the back of those arms to the floor, squeeze the chest as you press up, and let the weights touch at the top. Do it again. Again, you want to try to, if the weights are not super heavy, go slow and up and down at the exact same pace. We're going to do 8 more of these, and then I'm going to have you get yourself into a bridge, just holding the arms up at the top. And for the last 5, give me that rotation of the palms to face at the top, and let the weights touch. Just getting the arms a little closer together. Changing up the angle is always good. And again, be mindful not to bring the weights too far back. You want to keep them over the chest. Okay, hold them at the top, bridge it up, squeeze your glutes. Just hold those weights. Now bring your knees in to touch and open them back out, hip width apart. Squeeze them in and open. And just keep that going nice and slow. Big, huge squeeze, and then you release it. Okay, so we had our feet hip width apart. We're going to open them up a little wider. So it's a little harder to do this exercise. Squeeze and release. Working all those itty bitty muscles of the legs, the groin, your inner thighs. While you hold these weights. Okay, now see if you can open your feet even wider and still do the same squeeze. Keeping those hips nice and high. Now see if you can open your knees a little wider so you're feeling the outside of your glutes. Now hold them out and see if you can pulse them out and in. So the movement is only an inch and it's really focusing on the out. Keep your hips up. Lots of work for the outer thighs and glutes. Okay, now you're going to let the weights touch at the top. You're gonna lower them down to your chest and your hips, rock and roll yourself back up to a seated position. Okay, time to get on your feet. So I'm gonna use my disc, so I'm gonna fold my mat up. Sure, I've got it out of the way. I'm gonna grab one disc. Now, I've got a 15-pound kettlebell, but we are gonna do some rowing in between these reverse lunges. So make sure you have a weight handy. But we're gonna start with our right foot, either on a towel, or you could use a sock or the disc. Slide it back, lean forward. Your spine stays long though, we're not rounding the upper back. That's really important. And then slide up with lots of control till you're nice and upright. And then take it back. So by giving us this forward lean, you're getting really more into the back of the leg and the front of the leg at the same time. Once you've done a few, maybe you can get a little more depth. But again, it's not about forcing, it's just about challenging your body through this movement pattern. You don't want to go too slow that you can't get up smooth. So to add on, I'm just going to extend my arms out as I lunge back, and then bring the arms back to heart as I come up. Just amping things up a little bit. Out when you go down, in when you come up. But really smooth. You should be feeling this in that glute by now. Whoops, don't do that. Stay nice and steady. Okay, we're going to do 2 more here, and then we're going to have a little hold to get through before we move on to the other leg. Make sure you've got a good lean forward. Come back up. This time we take it back, we hold. So you can keep your hands at your chest, or you can take them out. Just hold this 5 counts. Now take your hands down to the floor. You're just going to step back to a plank, get off that disc, go to a down dog for a little reprieve. Push the heels towards the floor. Walk your feet forward, extend the spine. Reverse it, come all the way back up, reach for the ceiling. Lift the shoulders up, and then relax. Okay. Switch feet with the disc. Excuse me. Hands to heart to start. Slide it back, lean in. Come back up, nice and slow and steady. So I have my knee. If I look down, it sort of lands just behind where my toes start. Whatever is comfortable. There's no right or wrong. The more you lean forward with your knee, the more the quad does work. But it's important for you to be able to execute without pain. So wiggle it around, figure out where it wants to be, and that's where it should be. It's that simple. So if you're getting that foot pretty far back and you're giving me a big forward lean, you should feel a massive activation of the glute muscle. Okay, let's see if we can add in the arms. So as we go out, the arms come out. As we come up, they come back in. Two more and we have that hold, that fun hold, right? Okay, so this time you go back, you're gonna hold it. Your hands can stay at your heart or you can take them out. Just hold the pose. Hands down, get off the disc, find yourself in a plank, and take it to a down dog. So we're gonna pedal our feet. One heel goes down, get high on the toes on the other foot. Now come back to plank. I go back to down dog. 4 more times. Slow coming forward, slow going back. So I'm rocking it up on those tippy toes when I come forward, so I get a nice stretch through the pad of the foot. And then pushing the heels towards the floor when I go back. One more. Now, from your down dog, walk your feet all the way up to your hands. Extend the spine. Shift your hips backwards. Reverse swan dive, come all the way up, reach for the ceiling. And grab that weight, we're gonna do some rowing. So I'm gonna have you in a split lunge. When you row, put the weight in your right hand, send your right leg back. So your hand can just rest on your thigh, but don't weight into the thigh. And then give me a big forward lean here, and then start to row on that right arm. So you're getting the elbow up, you're trying to move it back. We're trying to really squeeze into that shoulder blade. So I have 80% of my weight in my left leg. Very little in the right, 20% or less is ideal. Okay, step it forward, switch your hands with your weights, send the left leg back. Big forward lean. Really try to give me all that weight in that right leg. Three or four counts down, 3 or 4 up. Two more. Okay, little balance work before we hit the floor again. So we're gonna do a single leg balance pose. Starting on that right leg. So kickstand the foot. Get used to putting your weight and balancing on that right side. Hands to heart. Once you're ready, lean forward, lift your foot off the floor. So I've just got my toes hovering just above the floor. I'm holding this and trying to balance. And then once I get comfortable with this, I'm going to lower my torso parallel to the floor and lift the back leg parallel to the floor. So lift it up, keeping your hips nice and square. Hands can stay at your heart. You're going to stay here for 5 more seconds. The back leg should be long. Engage those muscles. Now come back up. Woo! Shake it out. Kickstand the right foot. This leg's going to stay long. This leg's going to stay long. Hands to heart. Lean forward, pick the toes up off the floor in the back. Now, another way to make this harder is when you get into that whole body being parallel to the floor, you try to shift your hips backwards. Even if it's extremely subtle, you'll get more into your glute when you do that. So once you feel like you've got your torso and your leg parallel to the floor, see if you can play around with shifting the hips back. It's not really visible, but I'm sure you can feel it. Okay, come back up and shake it out. We are hitting the floor. Back down again. We're going to do a nice Pilates sit up to get back and a nice full body stretch once we're there. So I've got the heels in the corners of the mat, arms out in front, C-curve the spine, come down nice and slow. When the head's down, the arms go back, point your toes. How good does this feel? Stay nice and flat on those shoulder blades. Try to lower the ribs, even with the arms back there. It's hard, but try. Okay, let's bring the arms all the way down onto the mat with your palms facing the floor. We're going to get nice and flat on the blades. Bring your left heel into your left butt cheek. Cross your right knee over that left thigh. Let both knees go to the right. They're not going to get down on the floor, but they're going to get close. You got a big bend in the leg this time. Take your left arm long and straight back behind you. So your left chest is still facing up to the ceiling. Bring the arm in, bring the knees back up, uncross them, get nice and flat on the shoulder blades again. Left knee crosses over right. Let them go down to the left. Let that right arm come up and go straight backwards. Bring the arm in, bring the knees up. You're going to give yourself a nice hug. Pull those knees in nice and close. Let's make a little circle to massage the lower back. Go the other way. And let's rock and roll forward, come up onto the toes. Lift those heels all the way up so you're really on the pads of the feet. And then full forward fold. We're gonna get some good blood flow to the face here. Stay here for 3 big deep breaths. And roll up slowly, 1 vertebrae at a time. Nice. Take a nice big deep breath. And I thank you so much for your power and strength. Woohoo! We got it done. Yes. Good job, Anne.
That was great.